So first thing, before you flood the comment section about this, I know that there's enough room in the spot where I'll be parking to land a small plane, but that doesn't matter. This video is about verifications and they're the same no matter how tight or wide the spot is. So the first thing you should do after finding your spot is to put your flasher to the side where you want to park. And you should do that before you stop and not after. And that's for two main reasons. One, to indicate to the driver behind that we're about to slow down. And two, so that they understand that we want to park. If they see our flasher and they see that we're about to stop next to an available parking spot, they'll understand, hopefully, that we want to park, so they'll leave enough room for us to do so. If we just stop without indicating or put the flasher after we've already stopped, they might get too close. And on streets with lots of traffic, it means they won't be able to go around us and we won't be able to reverse. Now in this example, I'm on a two-way street separated by a solid line. You can't cross a solid line to pass a vehicle that's about to parallel park, even if you see people doing it all the time. You can do that to pass a vehicle that's stopped temporarily, but if it's parking, you should wait behind. Be careful with that at the exam, because students sometimes tend to just follow the actions of the vehicle in front. Now before reversing, I'll need to check all around the vehicle. Since I'm parking to the right, I do my verifications to the left first, central mirror, left side mirror, and blind spot. And why to the left? Because the front of the vehicle is going to point towards the left. So if there are any vehicles coming, they could hit me depending on the width of the lanes. In a two-way street like this one, it could be a vehicle trying to pass me or a vehicle coming from the opposite direction. So that's why you need to check all around the vehicle, including in front. In a one-way street, it could be a vehicle on a lane adjacent to mine. Now a thing with students is that after they reversed and they're in the 45-degree position, the step just before straightening the vehicle, they still check the left side too much needlessly. What we need to focus on mostly now is the right side and behind. We checked the left side in the previous maneuver since we were pointing the front of the vehicle towards the traffic, but in the next step, we'll be pointing the vehicle away from the traffic. So we focus mostly on the right side and back, glancing a bit to the left if necessary. Now, do we look in the mirrors while reversing, or should we turn our head and look behind? A mix of both, depending on the situation. In smaller vehicles, I prefer looking back because I have a wider angle of view, so I can see someone or something while they're approaching the vehicle, which leaves me enough time to react. You do have to move your body forward for this though. If you keep your head too close to the headrest, which is a mistake a lot of students do, you won't see much to the right side. However, in larger vehicles where you can't see much to both sides at the same time or because of the wide frame, you can use the mirrors more and alternate between the mirrors and looking behind. Also, if you're too short or you cannot turn your head or body for some reason, then use the mirrors. I prefer using the mirrors when I already know that there are things close to my sides, like when I'm parking at 90 degrees for example. I can judge the distance better that way. Now a question I get often, should I put my hazards on when parallel parking? I don't recommend it. Hazards are, for what the name implies, emergencies. If you put your hazards on, people may think that you'll only stop and not necessarily park. So they might pass you closer than if they knew you wanted to park, because they might think you'll keep the car straight. If they know that you want to park, they should keep in mind that the front of the vehicle will point to the left, so they'll leave more room when passing you. Hopefully. Also, on most vehicles, the hazards and the flashers share the same lights, so if you put your flasher when your hazards are already on, people won't see it. Now another question I get a lot, how do I know when I'm at the right distance between both the vehicle behind and the one in front? Well, that depends on a lot of variables since vehicles are of different heights and shapes. For example, if I park in front of the vehicle that's about the same size as mine, with this much distance between the two vehicles, when I look back, I still see the other vehicle's mirrors completely. If I park in front of a vehicle that's smaller than mine, with more or less the same distance between the two vehicles, when looking back, I don't see the mirrors anymore. If I park in front of a vehicle that is bigger than mine, I still see half of the front lights. So it depends a lot on the size of the vehicles in front and behind you where you park. There are a few tricks you can use though. I'll do a video specifically on that soon. Now last but not least, before exiting the car, make sure you check your mirrors and blind spot before opening the door, for different reasons, but especially for these guys. There's three main things that can happen if you open your door on a cyclist. First, if the cyclist is shorter, they can hit your door and fall behind it and get injured. Not fun, but that's not the worst that can happen. Next, if they're taller, they can flip over the window. Again, not fun, but still not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that could happen is if they hit your door and fly over to the middle of the street and get run over by a vehicle. That's when fatalities usually happen in this case. So always make sure to check your mirrors and blind spot before opening your door, and pay special attention when opening your door next to a bicycle path. I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching.